topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending. This isn't just a podcast. This is a call to action for all entrepreneurs who are tired of seeing their businesses and communities suffer while big business continues to grow by the billions. We challenge you to apply the content of our time together to create businesses that your clients can't resist, your employees love to work for, and your communities can depend on. Now is the time for Entrepreneurs Ascending. Hey, welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending. And yes, it is exactly that. We are a call to action. It's not just a podcast. I mean, it's great to listen to podcasts and chill out, maybe when you're at the gym or driving in the car, but so often it's just kind of like whenever we go to like trainings or motivational speakers, it's great. You get jazzed up. I think that's a great idea. But then do you put it in action? And that is really the big differentiator between winners and people who just like to be self-educated, right? So
you gotta apply that practice.
Right. You got to take it in action, because knowledge isn't really power. It's really the application of knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
So, hey, we've got Brian here with us again. And just so you guys know, again, he actually owned an HVAC company for over 25 years. And he worked with a lot of coaches and consultants to grow the business, to learn, because he loves learning, but now he loves to transfer that to other people as well. He's part of the Time for Success team. And again, this show is produced by Time for Success, and that is the coaching company. But so we're glad to have Brian here today. He's an integral member of the team, and it's just thank you again, Brian, for taking the time to be here today.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So today we're gonna have two parts, like we typically do. The first part, we're gonna be talking about the weak goals versus winning habits. And if you're ever like one of those people who beginning of the year comes around, you set some goals and then you forget about it basically until like next year, you feel comfortable that you're not alone. And unfortunately, there's some big misunderstandings. I think some big myths around goals. And we're going to hopefully help you to change that around. And even if you do set goals and crush them, there's going to be some key points here, because that's not necessarily always the best way to think about it. I'm just going to crush the goal. So we're going to talk about that. And then the second point, the second part of the show, we're going to actually have a discussion around high profit referrals by generosity. And Brian, what does that mean, real quick? What are high profit referrals by generosity?
Basically, by getting to know your referral partners, they're going to be able to refer you bigger and better opportunities, because they know you and you know them. And the upside is you're doing it simply with no marketing costs. So it becomes a very profitable partnership. Beautiful.
And Brian, I know you're working on training around this, so it's pretty timely. So I'm glad that you're able to share that with us today. So getting into the weak goals versus winning habits, I mentioned that whole crushing it kind of person. Like, I'm just gonna go out there and crush my goals. That's great, but it kind of reminds me of that guy in his 40s who's still wearing his Letterman jacket, right?
No, this don't exist, really.
And maybe that's a little bit of a low blow or an exaggeration, but the truth is, so many times, especially entrepreneurs who are very competitive type people, a lot of them are. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not necessarily a competitive type person, but you just love serving other people and all that, that's great too. And this still applies to you, but in just maybe some other ways, because it's probably hard for you to gain some traction with goals, but oftentimes, the more competitive type people, they're like, well, I'm just going to win. I'm just going to crush this goal. I'm going to set the goal. I'm going to crush it. But it doesn't necessarily set you up for long-term success. It doesn't necessarily build a foundation that you can continue to grow off of. It's just kind of well, you hit it. It was a flash in the pan. Great.
It's a one-off. Exactly.
It's a one-off, right? Exactly. So to you, Brian, it's kind of like the difference between like kind of the typical like kind of free flow, do whatever do whatever we need to do in business, which I think a lot of solopreneurs kind of start with, versus like systems thinking in business. Brian, what is like systems thinking in business?
Systems thinking is more like, okay, I have a set process or a standard operating procedure for how I go about doing X, Y, and Z. And that way it's done consistently and done all the time. Where,
Yeah,
being that solopreneur, I mean, for the longest time, I would, okay, I know back in my mind, okay, I was going to send a newsletter out in the spring and the fall, but I didn't really have a deadline for it. I knew that at this particular time, based on my gut, I needed to, hire somebody, or, okay, we need to start marketing this type of thing. And it wasn't based on anything other than my gut. And so that's where a lot of people, and as you say, the solopreneur do. So trying to help them understand putting processes and procedures in so that it's all there, that you're able to do things on a consistent basis.
Yeah. And I hope you're still with us after we uttered the words standard operating procedure, because I know that's like a major turnoff for a lot of people. Oh, I don't even want to hear standard operating procedure. Like, I don't even systems, processes, now can somebody like write these things down? No, it is important, but we're going to focus primarily kind of on how it applies even to like your personal business or your personal life here. I'm sorry. And so it's kind of like habits are kind of like these algorithms that kind of just run automatically. And if you really think about it, like, how do you get the results that you have? A lot of that is just kind of the stuff that runs in the background. Like it's those current habits. Like, if you keep wanting to wake up early in the morning and you roll over and hit the snooze button, there's some current habits there, right? You're rolling over, hit the snooze button. It might be going back to sleep issues or something like that. And I know a lot of people struggle with something like that, right? But that's just a current habit. So a lot of times we kind of want to beat ourselves up, like, oh man, I can't believe I'm doing that. But if we just think about it, okay, well, it's just a habit, it's just a routine that I've gotten into. All I got to do is change that. We can get different results, because goals are honestly just a different set of results than what we have. And just like with a computer, if you want your computer to kind of run a different program, you want to see something different on the screen. I mean, you got to have like different kind of like coding, different algorithms, different patterns that it's running. And we're the same way. Yeah. Have you ever experienced the yo-yo effect, Brian?
Many times.
Yeah.
Diets for sure. Reading, read for a good amount of time, and then you just stop and get back to it, or a little bit here and there. So absolutely, I think most people do yo-yo of a lot of things they do.
Yeah. It's like it's kind of what the typical pushing for a goal is. It's kind of like we work really hard, we hit it, but it's not necessarily about the consistency. So it creates this yo-yo effect. I saw a great talk by Simon Sinek talking about how too often, we measure success in business even as, okay, well, we got to hit this profit, right? If you don't hit this or this number, the sales, like especially on a sales team, it's like, well, your goal is $1 million in sales, and reward those people who like push really hard at the end of the quarter and they hit it, right? Like, it's kind of like most of the time, and then most of the quarter or most of the year, and then all of a sudden at the end there's like this big push and they finally hit it. As opposed to people who are, like other teams that are like consistently showing results, consistently growing, and maybe they didn't get as much, but they were like consistently growing through it wasn't like this weird like curved line. It was like a good straight line showing those consistently growing results. And really, it's like,
yeah, even into like that, the 4
4-hour work week,
4-hour work
yeah.
week. And then, where you're pushing for that short amount of time, but if you can able to do a little bit more consistent, you're going to get more consistent results. You see that a lot in sales, right before the end of the month, you'll see everyone pushing and pushing and pushing to get the stuff, done or across the finish line. But you should be necessarily having that same momentum at the beginning of the month and the middle of the month.
Absolutely. It's kind of like the difference between, like, I think it requires a perspective shift. It's like, we're going to win the moment, we're going to win the quarter, versus winning every day. set yourself up to win every day, and you're going to get better long-term results.
And make those wins small. You know, they don't have to be huge ones all the time. Make them small wins and start building on those small wins.
That is a great.
And that's the consistency that'll get you those big wins.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Like, have you ever? Are you familiar with SMART goals?
Of course I am.
Yeah, of course you are.
Of course,
right?
Of course.
Of course. We've talked about this, but what's the difference between like a SMART goal versus like the BHAGs? Are you familiar with those too? The big, hairy, audacious goals.
Yep. Yeah. So no, I mean, smart goals are something that you're planning on, you're working towards and to. You've got specific metrics and those things that you're really working towards and for, and they are ultimately realistic that you're going to get to them in a set amount of time. Where these big hairy goals, you know, you can it's great to have those 10x goals, those huge goals, but are those attainable typically in the short term? Not really. But a SMART goal can be attainable in that short term.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the quote is like you sorely underestimate you overestimate what you can do in the short term, like in 1 year, but you really underestimate what you could do in 10 years. So I think I saw a meme. I think it was just this morning, and it was a great reminder because I think Facebook was founded in 2004, or
That's right.
yeah. So in 16 years, Zuckerberg has built this monstrous multi-billion-dollar business. Yeah, I think 2004 he was still operating out of his dorm room.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that, 16 years.
Yeah,
it's not long at all. I mean, think about it. Like if you're 50 and you can build a multi-billion, or even, half that or quarter that, or even a multi-million-dollar business by the time that you're, 66, or even if you're 60, 76, people are living a lot longer. And, so many people kind of like, oh, well, it's too late in life, or I'm too tired, or whatever. But think about like what you can achieve and what kind of legacy and impact that you can leave behind.
Colonel Sanders was that way. I mean, he was, how old was he when he started KFC? Yeah. I mean, in his late 60s or early 70s, even, whatever that was, and had failed many times before running the same business.
Exactly. So in terms of kind of like the way to kind of like take this into action. So I really do like the 10x rule and BHAGs. Are you familiar with Grant Cardone's 10x rule? Yeah. So I do like that, but I think there's kind of a place for that. I think if you're somebody who is used to like, oh, I'm just going to crush it and hit it, and then kind of like there's that yo-yo effect. You work really hard, you do something, but kind of fall back into your old routines. I've seen a lot of runners do that. I know myself, I've been guilty of that, especially when it comes to like the jogging or whatever. We did a mud run. Was it I guess it was May. Worked really hard, and then after that, kind of just slid back a little bit, and then trying to get back into good running routines. It's something that a lot of people struggle with. So if you have that yo-yo effect, or if maybe like there's a lot of folks out there who they've got a great heart for serving people. They might not be as competitive as other business owners, but they got a great heart for serving people. But sometimes for those folks, it's hard to get started. It's hard to change some of those routines. So this is good for you as well. But so it's good, I think, like to think like the 10 years out, like what would be the ideal big situation, like that 10x, like unbelievable amount of success that you can have in 10 years from now. And maybe have that for 5 years from now. Still, that's a big push. But when we get down to like the next quarter, I think that's really when the SMART goals can be powerful, because when you think about getting getting some traction, right? Getting some traction and getting some momentum with these things. And if you are kind of stuck in a certain pattern right now, it's hard to sometimes keep that consistent momentum.
Absolutely.
There's that myth around like how long it takes to take on a new goal, right? Or take on a new habit.
Yeah, it used to be, you have to do that for what, 21 days now, and that was kind of the myth, that you'd think a couple weeks would do it, and it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
What is the average now? That
I
kind of
think
like based on the science.
Yeah. According to some research that was done, by a researcher. I think I have it here. I got some notes here. So Philippa Lally, researcher out of she was a health psychology researcher out of the University of College of London. And they found that on average, even something as simple as drinking a water every day with lunch, like a bottle of water, or running for 15 minutes before dinner, it took 66 days on average for it to become a real habit. For the participants to report, okay, I can do this without thinking. It's just a habit. And this is a routine, and there's no, I don't have to push myself and exert that energy. But that's the beauty of whenever you have a habit, right? Because you don't have to waste energy making yourself do it, right?
You're
It's
not
just,
thinking. It's just automatic. It's back to one of those logarithmic, formulas, and that's happening. It's just on cruise control for it.
Yeah. So if you can free up some of that headspace, if you can free up some of that energy that it takes to make a decision every day, and just have these things that are building, I run, I make the sales calls, I sit down with each employee during a certain time of the day. Each of these things that help you to win in more of the areas that you want. Like it takes all that energy out, all that push. So you have much more energy for the creative stuff, for envisioning the next thing, and the fun stuff, right? And more time with the kids. Like, how many people are exhausted trying to push themselves all day long, trying to just force things to happen, and then by the time they're home, they just don't have any time for the kids or the spouse.
And they're just exhausted.
Yeah.
Just, and they're worried about what's going to be happening the next day.
Right. One of the routines that I've created, one of the habits is, with my kid, I shut things off at a certain time in terms of like work stuff, and then we eat dinner, and then we play some Minecraft together, or play a game together, or just have some one-on-one time with my youngest daughter, and try to get my eldest daughter. I think she's like 16, so she's too busy hanging out with friends and stuff like that, but
it's not cool to hang out with dad.
Right. But I'm sure she'll come back around. But
when she's 21.
Right. So, but definitely make sure that I have that time. I mean, just as an example. So I wanted to kind of circle back around to SMART goals, because we've talked about what SMART goals, and not everybody necessarily knows what a SMART goal is. So a SMART goal is specific, meaning that we answer kind of the questions of the who, where, what, why, when, that sort of thing. Like, you want to make sure that, right. So it's different than just like, oh, well, I want to get in shape, right? It's more like, I want to go to the gym 3 times a week, eat twice as many vegetables. Be a lot more specific about what you mean, like being healthy, so, or eat so many vegetables a day or something like that, right? Measurable is where you can put a number to it.
Yeah, it's got to be a time frame, and not not the 10-year time frame. It's a much shorter time frame.
Yeah. So how can you measure it, and based on that time frame? Actually, one of the things that I do, so I created a worksheet. So with our clients, we actually do a quarterly goal planning session, and the reason that we do that is because goal setting and goal attainment is really a skill to be developed. It's not just something that you fall into one day. It's not really as easy as we make it out to be. It really is a process, a skill set. And so when we talk about making it measurable, I even say like, okay, what is your threshold for success in a given day? So, if you're going to go out and run, what is the threshold for success? Is it so many miles in a day? Is it so many minutes of running in a day? And then you'll mark that as success. You can run a little bit longer if you feel like it, if you've got the energy, but like, let's say if it's 15 minutes, then you mark that day off as, okay, that was a success.
It was
I
complete.
got it. Right. So, so you have to make it measurable, and then achievable. Achievable.
You can't like like we said, you can't throw these goals that are out there that you're never going to get to, because then you're going to stop doing them.
Exactly.
You're never going to see that finish line.
Yeah, I love James Clear's book. So I'm standing up. Yeah, so I got a standing desk, so I'm not sitting down. Hopefully, I'm not moving around too much, but it just kind of helps me to have more energy. So I hope that's all right. But I just kind of did a little hop as I shuffled my foot. If you're just listening to the podcast, but
you with more energy, that's scary.
Hey, I keep it pretty chill, keep it pretty real. But all right, so achievable. Like, I love James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and it really does talk to you about how to make things achievable, even like the psychological principles. And one of the things it talks about is just breaking it down to like 2-minute increments at first. If you've never gone to the gym before, to say I'm going to go to the gym even one day a week and work out for an hour, like that's crazy. It's just not going to happen for most people. And it's not going to happen in a consistent way. I mean, even if you win for a few weeks at the beginning of the year, like a lot of people do, you see the gym, the difference between the gym, like January 2nd versus February 2nd versus March 2nd, right? Like we've kind of actually learned not to be consistent with our goals. We see a lot of other people and we see that it's okay not to be consistent with their goals. And so we kind of throw it out the door, and we think that the only thing that matters is if we go after some big goal, right? Most people don't think that way. So it has to be achievable. Break it down to 2-minute increments. If you've never gone out and run before, don't say, well, I'm going to go out and run for 15 minutes. Say, you know what? I'm going to put my running shoes on and I'm going to walk around the house for 2 minutes, so that you get used to the habit of putting the shoes on at that certain time and walking around in the shoes for 2 minutes. A lot of people will kind of laugh at that and they'll be like, well, that's ridiculous. But the thing is, it's okay to laugh, because here's the thing that you're doing there too.
Just start with the shoes. It's the first step.
Yeah. And you're actually, as long as you're not being like hard on yourself, you just kind of laugh like this is kind of funny, you're actually tying a positive emotion to putting on the shoes and walking around. And when you tie that positive emotion to it, like our brain works on like connections, between concepts. When you tie that together, it actually is reinforcing. So make it achievable, and make it really like super achievable. Teach yourself that you can set goals and be consistent with new habits. And then relevant just means that does it matter in your life? Like, is it really important? If you're trying to grow a multi-million-dollar business, but you also want to scale the Himalayas, well, okay, let's see what's the most relevant right now based on your priorities. Is the business more important, or is climbing the Himalayas more important? So that's a personal decision, but you have to make it really relevant based on your priorities. And then timely is, you got to give it a set time. I'm going to do it. Not just, I think you have a time frame for hitting it, but you have to give yourself like a certain time to do it. I even argue like you need to put it on your calendar at a certain time, so that you have that there. You have the reminder, you have the visual aid, you have the alert that blocks up, you have it whenever you're looking at your calendar each day, doing your planning. So yes, make it timely, but also make time for it, is where I kind of say like take it to that next level.
Yeah, because people will have it there, but then they don't assign the time to take care of it. And you have to have that ability to have the time to work on that goal.
Exactly.
You
So
can do everything up front, all the way through, but then not do the T because you didn't make it timely to take care of.
Yeah. So this is the difference. This has been the difference that we've talked about today in terms of, setting goals, but they're weak because it's like, well, I just want to do this, versus creating the habits that are going to help you not only hit that goal, but it's going to give you a foundation for that next level. And you're going to be able to consistently go level up, right? So here's some of the steps. Identify, what your big goals are. The big, hairy, audacious goal is great. Like, get a big vision that excites you for 10 years from now. It's okay to overestimate what you can do for 10 years from now. And then plan your SMART goals for the next 90 days in a way that's going to build the habits. Identify the habits that support those goals and those that don't. Schedule the new habits. Put it on your calendar. Find an accountability partner. That's kind of that extra thing. Like, you need accountability. Yeah. Accountability partner who's going to hold your feet to the hold your feet to the fire, or like even a coach or something like that, and just give it some time, at least 66 days. Don't beat yourself up. But it's time. It's halftime, so I want to go ahead and we're going to roll the commercial, and then we're going to get right into referrals through generosity. I'm going to talk with Brian and let him kind of explain some of this aspect of the training that he's doing to give you some actionable steps from today. So please run that commercial, Jason. Thanks.
Have you been suffering from chronic pain, disease, or sleep disorders? Did you know that 75 to 90% of disease is caused by inflammation in the body? The sad truth is, most doctors just treat symptoms rather than finding and fixing root causes of inflammation. If you want to fix your health problems, then finding and fixing the cause of the inflammation is a must. It's time to demand this for your health care and start living life to its fullest again. Book a discovery appointment with the Functional Health Team founder, Dr. Flory, to get your answers ASAP at www.functionalhealthteam.com.
All right, we're back, and yes, Dr. Flory is really incredible. He really does look for those root causes of the inflammation that's causing the disease, that's causing your symptoms that you can't seem to stop, or you just have, medicating your way to just trying to treat but not cure. So he can help you find those root causes and get rid of it for you. So,
Yep.
All right, Brian. So again, like, referrals through generosity. So what you're saying is, like, by giving, like, you're going to get back.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's exactly it.
Okay.
The more you know about other people is the more you're able to help give back to them.
Okay.
So if you go at things as, what can I do to help others first, those things are going to come back around. Whether it's doing stuff in the community, just helping out somebody, and you're not necessarily looking for recognition for it. But if you're out there doing things, things come back around. I can remember, when I joined Rotary Club, they asked me to be part of the scholarship program for kids, and so got to go around and meet some kids and offer them some scholarships. We got them a couple of gift certificates, and then brought them to our meeting and honored them for our meeting, and then we take pictures of it. And lo and behold, my picture was on the front page with these kids, and wasn't even trying that, but then and the caption was, Brian Stroud of Stroud Heating and Cooling presented so and so, this. So it wasn't even something we were trying. It's just something we were doing goodwill through Rotary. And it does kind of pop back around, as you're being those good Samaritans for the community.
I love it. Yeah. Well, as a small business owner, it's kind of like part of your competitive advantage whenever you're going against, like, the big companies out there, right? Like, and this company this podcast, this call to action, is about helping the small business owner get that competitive edge and be able to stand up against. And so this is huge if you're a small business owner. This is huge. So your example there of being in the newspaper, from just trying to give back to the community, that's a great example. I mean, that gives you some great branding. But what was the message that you think that your customers received whenever they saw that picture?
Yeah, just you're spending time helping out the community. You're part of an organization that's solely designed to give back to the community and give back to everywhere, for it.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah.
and again, you're trying to help focus things on the community. Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, what are some other ways? So they're giving back to the community, but also like you were a pretty heavy networker. You've been a pretty heavy networker,
Yeah.
and so how does that work out with like networking?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guarantee, you go to all these networking events and you get these business cards, and you're have a stack of business cards sitting on your desk or in a drawer. And you come back from a meeting. What do you do with those? You throw them on that stack, and they just continue to grow, and you don't really, have anything to do with them. So right there is a gold, just a sitting gold mine of opportunities for it. So if you can come up with a way of getting to know those people, so develop a system, like an 8x8, where over 8 weeks you touch them 8 different times through 8 different mediums, and set up a time to be able to get a meeting with them, and then you're going to be able to go sit down and find out about them. I like to use that acronym FROG. You know what that acronym is, Matt? Can I throw one on you?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're gonna ask me now? It's
Yeah.
all right, sure. Family, recreation, occupation, and goals, right?
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you were able to do that. But if you're sitting there and you're asking, you're in these one-to-ones, and it's not just, hey, give me business. That doesn't work. You have to get to know these people, and so by just having great conversations, if you're sitting there and you're asking, okay, what is your family? What do you like to do? What do you do for fun? What do you and your family do for fun? Your occupation, of course, that's why you're really kind of there. You're wanting to know what they're doing and how you can help them and they can help you. And then ultimately too, just trying to find out those goals. What are they wanting to attain? And so once you know that, then you can sit there and ask them, how you can help them attain those goals. And it really just kind of becomes a great way of being able to have that synergy of working together with them. And then,
Yeah,
sometimes after you meet with these people, they might be a good fit. They might not be a good fit. But
yeah.
then to continue to follow up with them, that's the other thing is people do, the BNI, the one-to-one networking meeting. And, yeah, you might get together and learn all that information about those people. But then the next day you forget all about them and they
Yeah,
forget about you.
yeah,
So what do you do with that information afterwards? What do
yeah.
you do?
No, that's a good point. And we had a viewer comment. Hello, I'm Nova is the name. So hello, I'm Nova. Thanks for thanks for watching the show. Had a great point. Says he or she says, don't take business cards anymore. I send them my branding page and have them sign up for email or community number. That's fantastic. Yeah,
That
I
is
mean,
good.
especially with COVID and people kind of being afraid of shaking hands and all that. Yeah, I started using a digital card even before COVID, but it was really handy because yeah, I would be able to send them my information digitally, and and then you actually end up getting their information because you can do it a couple different ways. You can send it to their email, so you immediately get their email address, or you can send it to their
Next.
their cell phone, so you immediately have their mobile number rather than like sometimes you just get like an office number or whatever, so you immediately get their mobile number as well, and you're immediately in their phone where they can just download that contact card right into their phone. But I like that idea of also sending a branding page because, like, if you send them that, then you can have them put in their email address, and if they put in their email address, they can do it like an opt-in. So they opt in. Hey, can I send you my page? It's got all of my information on there, my contact card, but also, would you mind signing up for my informational newsletter or business tips or something like that? I'm just curious, Helen, I'm Nova, if you're still on here. Like you said, you have them sign up for email or a community number. Like, what do you do to follow up with that? What do you do to add value? And that's that next thing too. Like, you have to add value to people who get on your list. A lot of people just send out like the next bargain, But these days, I think part of that idea of generosity is like, how do you bring value to a relationship first, as opposed to trying to get value from it? Is that a fair way of putting it too?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and it's small things too. Just like if you know, they like Cardinals or they like the Blues, it's a great thing just to mail them a calendar of the Blue schedule or the Cardinal schedule, and it's just a touch for it. Or small things of if you see their picture in the paper, or you can set up Google alerts, for small things like that, where their name is mentioned. You're able to do that. You can capture that and send it to them, print it out, send it to them, say, hey, congratulations, I saw you on this. And you're just trying to stay kind of relevant with them. You don't need to be selling them all the time. You just need to be able that you're there, that when they either need your service or they know of somebody who needs your service, you're the one that they think of. And so it's just small continual steps of being able to follow up with those people on a consistent basis. I mean, I had a roof put on 7 or 8 years ago, and it was a gentleman that was in my B&I group at that particular time, and he left the group a long time ago, and I do not remember the name of the company that put the roof on. They did a really, really good job, and they actually, did 2 or 3 houses around me and my neighbors as well, and would really have no problem referring them, but I don't remember who they are. So just a simple follow-up, even after you complete a sale with somebody, continue to follow up with them, even if it's, nothing that you're trying to sell them, just to say, hey, here's Cardinal schedule, here's something just in general going on in the community. Those are the small things that really kind of pull out, and, through that generosity, you're going to continue to get business in return.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like, that old adage that they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because they're not going to know how much you care until they need it. And so by being able to continue to do those things, it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Hey, Nova. So, for example, I'll have them text at a certain number that's automated on the intro. As I'm talking to whomever, I'll say, I'll send you a few invites this week to our Zoom trainings. And throughout the week, I can send them a community blast, or I can text them individually to confirm invites. That's awesome. That's awesome, nice. Especially if you've identified that they might be interested in something like that, and if you, as you get more savvy for it, you're going to understand like who your target market is and who's not, and I think be able to even maybe kind of create some Nova, I'm curious if you like create some like specific pages for like specific target markets or specific needs, like if you're networking and somebody needs one product or offering, you could just send them a different way. So, but I love that you're trying to add some value, when you're Zoom training or something like that. We do that with free group coaching as well. Just trying to add value to a relationship first, which actually our next free group coaching is this Friday.
Friday, yes.
Yeah, Friday.
8 a.m.
Yeah, 8 a.m. Central time. Yeah. So
I put that link in the chat there.
Yeah. So if you have that one, Jason, it's the freebusinesscoaching.eventbrite.com. So if you want to put that in the little scrolly thingy at the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. I found it. Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you, Jason. Nova. Perfect. Yeah. Each contact can be categorized. Love it, man. Or man. Sorry, person. I don't know.
Person.
Nova. Love it, Nova. So what's like another great way to ask, like to like ask for like recommendations or something like that with this?
Yeah. Another great way is if you have a need, or everyone needs an accountant, a lawyer, a banker, someone that's pretty much universal through any type of business. If you just sit there and you're simply asking, hey, I've got I'm looking for an accountant. I've got some referrals I need to give. Do you have an accountant that you would consider a 10, that you would refer without even questioning or thinking? And so that's a great way just to kind of open that up. And if they do have that person, sit there and say, hey, do you mind while you're sitting there, hey, do you mind doing a text intro for me? And then that way they're taking care of it right then and there. And then now you have the ability of meeting somebody else that you're wanting to, that this particular person thinks is a 10. And, that goes a long way. And then when you're having that conversation, with that particular person, you're saying to say, hey, Matt, said you're a 10. He said you're the best accountant that he's ever worked with. And so, I want to meet you. I've got some clients and some people that I could possibly refer you to. And then you set that meeting, you go with it. And then, as you're in that meeting, you ask him, hey, are there things that you don't do that you refer out to other accountants or other CPAs that you would consider a 10? And then you would just continue going down that road. And before you know it, you've got, one chain is allowing you to get to 5, 6, 10 different people that you never would have even thought of being able to get to, that is able to help you. And then when you have, those opportunities, you're going to have specific, and that's one thing you get, like when people join BNI, like, well, I already have a friend who does that, so I would never be able to refer him. Well, pretty much there's a lot of things that are very specific that people do. And you are able, once you find out that information, going back to that frog information, you're going to know who might be a good fit for this particular person. A solo entrepreneur might not be good for a huge particular firm. A solo might be somebody that's good for a very small CPA. So you and then you've got these bigger companies. Maybe it's a $10 million company. Well, a small CPA firm probably doesn't have the bandwidth to be able to take care of the things that they're going to need. So you've got to have your different people that you're able to refer. And again, the more you're able to network and be able to find those people, you're able to provide that information to everybody then.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. It's when networking, like there's great groups. There's BNI, there's NTI, there's what's some other Master Network or Master Networks. Yeah, there's a lot of great groups out there, and so these are all principles that you can take to any of those groups. Absolutely, but if you always think about, okay, so when people join these groups, right? It always seems like they think, well, I'm going to join this group and I'm immediately going to get stuff out of it.
It's exactly what I wanted. And I can go back to my example with the Rotary. I joined Rotary and BNI in the same week. Went in expecting to get referrals out of BNI and nothing out of Rotary. And it actually ended up kind of going backwards of that. BNI takes time. Those networking groups take time. Everything takes time to build that trust. But, doing those things in the community, you built a lot more trust with, the other people, the other members, when you're showing up and you're doing those things, and you got a lot more out of it very quickly. And then again, there's nothing wrong with the networking. You need to do that networking, but it takes time to build that trust. Yeah.
Well, and the BNI trademarked, I guess, is a motto or whatever. It's like givers gain, even, so I think they try to encourage it early on, but I think a lot of people miss that. And like I've even sat down for like a face-to-face meeting or one-to-one with an individual kind of meant for networking, and it seems like they're ready to sell me. So
and it's like that just turns you off. It's like, okay, I don't know you, madam. I'm not going to refer you somebody or something. I don't know you. You got to establish that trust.
Yeah. So what do you do?
That old saying, you do business with people like and trust. And there's a lot of people that just kind of skip that and just say, okay, well, I know you, so you should do business with me. It's not how it works.
Right. Yeah, because even when you join a networking group, and maybe the idea is that you're supposed to give referrals to that person. I've seen it a lot of times where somebody will join a networking group, and the current members will kind of wait for them to reach out, and they kind of wait for them to be graced with their presence, almost. It's like, come on, like you're in it to help other people grow their business as well. And if you have that right mindset, that by helping others, you're going to. Zig Ziglar, I think, said it really well. He said, if you help enough people get what they want, you can have anything that you want.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a great quote.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Nova said, you build trust with value, in my opinion. You don't need to sell it, as it should speak for itself in those groups. Nova, spot on. Spot on. Yeah. If you want $1 million, help 1 million people. I love that. And just charge them with $1 each, right? Is that
Buck each?
But no, it does come back around. That's absolutely right, Nova. I completely agree. And by bringing value to the conversation, and that's really what I think a lot of people miss, even in social media. They don't realize that social media should be about bringing value. They just post some great pictures about some of their work or the next sale or something like that. But I think it's still in the same vein, right? Like, how do you bring value, in all these different ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, on social media sites, kind of the same thing. You want to bring community events, be posting community events. What's going on with local schools, and and staying away from political topics with it, but just saying what's out there. Or we used to do a blood drive. Who would typically go to a heating and cooling company to donate blood? But we had 30 to 50 people twice a year come and donate blood for a blood drive we put together. And so just being able to do community events, talking about fundraisers for schools, and copy and pasting different articles from the newsletter or newspapers and stuff. Calling attention to someone who had an anniversary or got a promotion that you're friends with. You're going to become that person who's just known as that networker, that community type of person. And then, hey, I need this. And you start commenting on those things, they're going to believe who you're going to recommend. Yeah. And then again, it all goes back into knowing who those people are that you can refer then. So that, it's a big, figure eight. One goes to the other and works itself around and comes back around. And as long as you're continuing to work it, it all can flow together.
Yeah. Yeah, and all this is one of the big reasons why I even love doing a podcast, is because because it brings value to people that I respect and that I love to have on the show. It brings value to them because they can share their message, but then it brings value to all the people out there who are listening and watching, and so it's just about that bringing value and just hopefully giving. Even this, really, that's why I don't want it just to be just something that people listen to. If it brings value, if it's a call to action, if you're going to do something with the stuff that we talk about today. So that's how I wanted to hopefully bring value to you. And Nova, it sounds like you got a lot of great ideas. My email is down at the bottom, actually, Nova. Why don't you reach out? I'd love to do a face-to-face with you and see if there's maybe have you on the show even. It sounds like you have like a lot of great ideas that we can share with the community. So please email me. Let's have you on. Let's talk.
Absolutely.
So Brian, what are some action steps that people can take if we're going to just kind of summarize really quickly, because we're almost out of time? We can summarize like really quickly in like 30 seconds. What are some action steps that people can take to get more referrals through generosity?
Yeah, take advantage of that stack of business cards in your desk. Try to set up some some face-to-face appointments. Be able to use that frog. Get to know them as a person. And then being able to use that information to go out and be present in the community, and then being able to refer those people, and always asking for that next person who they consider to be a top person, because that's who you want to get. You don't want to be meeting ones or twos. You want to be meeting those 10. So be asking who they would feel as a 10.
And make sure that you're clear. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, make sure that you're clear when you tell somebody that somebody said they were a 10, that it was about their
Their
skill
work,
set.
not
Yeah, right.
not anything else. Exactly.
Hey, Brian said you were a 10. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be careful. Be careful how you're talking about that. But just a little quick tip. But all right. Well, thank you so much today. We've hit upon like how to not just set week goals, but make great habits. And that was part one. And I don't care if you're somebody who feels like you're crushing all the time, or you're somebody who's really struggling to get some consistent results. Listen to part one. That'll make a difference in your life. And then generosity through referrals. That was part two. Thank you so much, Brian, for being on here. We're going to be doing a training on that here coming up. And don't forget about free group coaching coming up this Friday, 8 a.m. Central, freebusinesscoaching.eventbrite.com. Or you can just email me at matt@mattbarbie.com. I'll send you the link. I would love to have you there. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Thank you for being with us today. But now is the time to put what we talked about into practice. Remember, your family, employees, and community are depending on you to rise up and win. The great news is you're not alone. You're part of a resurgence of entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business, life, and impact to the next level, and we're going to do it together. This show is powered by Time for Success, where we help business owners every day who want more freedom and wealth while building a legacy of positive impact. Please follow Time for Success on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for more helpful strategies and tools for creating the business and life of your dreams.